appreciation of public service that you folks have. And so I just started running, and I reached out to Jesse and said, I want to start here in Brooklyn with these folks. So thank you for everything that you've done and are doing. It really begins with you, because you look at the candidates, you mobilize, you vote, you do raise money, and I want to earn your support. And part of that is telling you a bit about myself, and then also a bit about what makes me tick, what I've done, what my experiences are, and what I want to do if I am lucky enough to become your lawyer as Attorney General. I'm running because I believe in public service. And those are words that mean a lot to the folks in this room. I know they mean a lot to Jesse and how he's lived his life as a lawyer. But let me tell you why, in my case, those words are not just words. So let me just tell you a few facts. I'm the son of Irish immigrants. My parents came here separately in 1950 when America was the land where dreams could be realized. And they got married here. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. My parents are Irish Catholic, and they used the rhythm method but couldn't keep a beat. So I grew up in a household that believed in the American dream. My dad came here with a 4th grade education. He grew up very, very poor in the west of Ireland. But you know what? When he passed away 2 years ago, he said to me on his deathbed, he lived the American dream. Why? Because he sent 7 kids to college. And those 7 kids are out there helping, our society. And again, I grew up believing that. My dad was in the Carpenters Union. I am a proud product of a union household. And I'll never forget that. In fact, I still live in a union household because my wife is a member of Screen Actors Guild, although she doesn't act except maybe in the kitchen on occasion. I was born in the Bronx, and I grew up there. I grew up in Niagara Falls, where my dad worked on the power project. But I really grew up in Hempstead, Long Island. And Hempstead was a tough town then. It's a tough town now. But my parents really believed in education. And although my dad was out of work quite a bit when I was growing up, I know what it's like to come home and see your dad home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and know that he's only home because he's been laid off. And I'll never forget that. It happened many times when I was a kid, and I knew life would be tough for the next few weeks or months. I went to Chaminade High School on Long Island because my parents wanted me to get the best education possible. My dad was out of work the last 2 years I was there, so I worked as a janitor to help pay tuition. I worked as a carpenter apprentice in the same union as my dad. I helped build the World Trade Center. I worked on a number of other buildings. College was going to be tough. I was the oldest, and I had 6 kids lined up behind me, all wanting to go to college. So I applied to and got into the United States Naval Academy. So I went to Annapolis. It was not only free, but I was getting to train to become a U.S. naval officer, which was pretty darn cool for the son of immigrants. I graduated with an engineering degree in 1978. I went to flight school, and I flew in something called a P-3 Orion, which chased Soviet submarines during the Cold War, which was really, really cool. I then went to Washington, where I was stationed for a year in the Pentagon and then 2 years in the White House. I had very, very good jobs. But jobs weren't good enough. I had to get an education, an advanced degree. So I went to law school at night at Georgetown Law. I did it just to get a degree, but I ended up liking the law because I saw it as a vehicle to serve people, to help people, use my head to help people. So I left active duty, I moved back to New York, and I worked at a place called Paul Weiss, a big law firm. Yeah, a big law firm. Big law firm. And I was very proud because not only did I get to work on big corporate cases, but that law firm let me work on pro bono. So what kind of free work that I did? I became the co-managing associate of the housing project. And I represented dozens of tenants in housing court. And anyone who's been there knows that that is a mess. And I was never so proud as a young lawyer as to sit beside my tenant from West 125th Street. My first court appearance, the first time I was going to speak in court. I was so nervous I had to say 5 words. Petitioner, respondent, inspection, and 3 other words. And I was so nervous. And at one point, Vonda Davis, my first client, said, "It's okay, son, you're going to do fine." So Vonda was right. I did fine. I did a good job for her. How good? The landlord tried to hire me after that case. But my heart was with the tenants, and as it is with the employees, as it is with the little guy. And let me tell you a little bit more. I went and became a federal prosecutor in Manhattan, and very proud prosecutor. I was there for about 4 years. Tried a lot of cases. And as good a prosecutor as I was, every time there was conviction, I couldn't help but feel something failed here. There was a failure here. And I still feel that way. I think we put too many people in prison, and we have to think about alternatives. And I mean, I believe in law and jail, but there have to be alternatives, and I saw far too many unhappy circumstances. I then went to a big law firm, made partner there. You know, it was the dream, right? Made partner at a big law firm, big salaries from here to the horizon. I wasn't very happy. Why? Because I was defending corporate misconduct. And yeah, sure, somebody's got to do it, but you know, there are plenty of lawyers willing to do that. So after I made partner at this big firm, I decided to leave the big firm and go to a 16-lawyer plaintiff's firm. And why did I go there? Because that firm had just won one of the greatest cases in history, the Texaco race discrimination case. You may remember that about 15 years ago. That Texaco was discriminating against African-American employees, and that firm had just walloped Texaco. And so I said, that's a place where I want to practice. And I went there, and over the next 11 years, it went from 16 lawyers to 54 lawyers. I went from a brand new partner to co-managing partner. And I was there until October, when I decided to leave, because I want to go back to fighting for all New Yorkers, not just the ones who were my clients at that firm. The entire time almost the entire time I was at the firm, and certainly when I was a young lawyer and a prosecutor, I was still in the Navy. Why? Because I loved the Navy, and I loved serving my country. So I spent 18 years in the Navy Reserve, 1 weekend or 2 weekends a month, leaving my law files, leaving my young family, to go up to New England, to pull out a flight suit, and practice sinking submarines. And I did that because I love my squadron, I love my Navy, and I was very, very proud to serve my country in the United States Navy. I ended up commanding a squadron. The Navy selected me to command a squadron of 9 aircraft and 300 men and women, 100 of whom were on active duty. And every day, the same year I was trying to make partner, I would be on the phone with my squadron up in Maine. What's going on? What are the disciplinary issues? We're flying armed missions off of Bosnia. We're flying counter-narcotics missions over Colombia. It was really 2 full-time jobs. I was promoted to captain, had another command on board the USS Enterprise, and the last 4 years I spent in the Pentagon part-time working on issues relating to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and how we are using, or more properly, abusing our reserves. But 5 years ago, on the eve of the biggest civil trial in the history of the United States, which I was the lead trial lawyer for, WorldCom, I retired after 30 years in uniform. Because what was I doing in WorldCom? You may have heard of it. It was the biggest scandal, right up there with Enron. It was actually bigger than Enron. And I represented who? The New York State Common Retirement Fund. All of you, those of you who are state employees, I was representing your fund in one of the biggest cases in history. And who was I against? I was against the corporate directors, the corporate officers who lied to investors, the investment banks on Wall Street, 17 of them, that allowed WorldCom to sell $16 billion worth of bonds to investors. And they had hired the best lawyers in this city and this country to defend what they did. And I had to try that case. And many of you may have known what happened. I got the largest settlement in the history of civil litigation, $6.2 billion. Why? Because I was a stubborn Irish kid from the Bronx. I'm from Hempstead. So that we did have that article called Wall Street's New Nemesis. And why does Wall Street matter to you folks? It does matter because life in the city is bad now because Wall Street screwed up, right? These guys let a bubble grow, they weren't properly regulated, and the bubble burst, and the economy's gone downhill. People are losing jobs. I don't know how many people in here have mortgages that they're either behind on or that they can't renegotiate with the banks because of the system that was set up. So don't let anyone tell you that regulation of Wall Street isn't relevant in the next Attorney General's race. It is relevant. And you have to ask yourself, who's best prepared? Who do the Wall Street banks fear and respect? Listen, Wall Street is very important to the city. It's our most important industry in the state. But there's plenty of ways to make a lot of money playing by the rules. God bless them when they make money playing by the rules. But if they break the rules, I'm coming after them, just like I have demonstrated in the past. So, about a year ago, I was approached by some people who said, we really need you to get you into office. Political clubs. Oh, thank you. And they weren't the first people that approached me about running for office. I'll just tell you a quick story. One of the things I've done in recent years is I've helped candidates I really like. And I've been in a position where I can do that. And about 6 years ago, I met this young state senator from Illinois. And I really liked him a lot. So I helped elect him to Senate. I helped him elect him president. And then he asked me to come work for him. And I decided not to do that. I was going to have to commute. I had young kids, and it was just too hard. And I always said that I was going to be there for 8 years, so maybe there'll be another time. But in the meantime, I realized this job is going to come